when we were in Florida visiting my mother near decade ago, give or take, and she said, I don't like you two together. When you get together, you're like a two-headed snake. And we liked that.
Yeah, we liked that. So welcome to Stream Queens the Pod. I'm Julia Wendt.
I'm Erin McKeon.
We are the Bushwick Intellectual Class. We're coming at you live from our apartment in Bushwick, where we are roommates. We've lived together for 4 years. We've been friends for a decade, where we met in film school, and we have about that many years in the entertainment industry, and we are here to provide the definitive take on television. Oh, I really feel like that intro, while strong, I wish the haters in chat would kind of like, y'all don't want to make fun of that. That's funny.
Yeah.
Well, the Bushwick Intellectual Class, light us up.
I think we've never clipped it, and so because most of our haters in chat come from our videos, they're not actual listeners.
No, step your pussy up. Come listen to an entire episode.
Listen to an episode. There's gonna be
like
a lot for you to fucking hate on, so jump right in.
No, like you're gonna have a field day.
Yeah.
Like two-headed snakes in the grass.
A quick disclaimer for our loyal listeners. We thank everyone who's been joining us so far on the journey of The Last of Us.
You sound like we're quitting.
Well, I feel guilty about it because
this is a video we never thought we would have to make. We never thought we would be in this situation. Some things have been said and not said. Some marks have been marked and unmarked.
And when it all boils down to it, I'm sorry.
I
apologize.
I think there's an apology to be owed.
Yeah.
From the creators and makers of The Last of Us.
Absolutely. Because listen, we're going to keep watching The Last of Us. If it gets good again, I'm going to be happy to do a whole podcast episode on it.
No, you really didn't care for it.
But I just think it's devolved completely into Corny Town. I mean,
this season's set in Corny Town?
Yeah,
Corny Town day one.
Corny Town day one, day zero. And so here were the best parts of The Last of Us this week, which are why
you really didn't like it. I enjoyed it a little bit.
Yeah,
but
I don't know.
Lesbianism.
I like that they gave Josh Peck something to do.
Welcome back to our living room, Josh Peck.
I haven't seen you since I was watching Drake and Josh when I was a kid, but I love that show. What a star you were. And I see you sometimes on my TikTok feed doing podcasts. Yeah, didn't he have
a little bit of an almost renaissance some time ago?
I think it was like a Vine moment or it was a TikTok moment, but he was like influencing, and now he's got like, I think, a podcast.
Bull.
Yeah, but anyway, I like that they gave Josh Peck a job because I thought he
did great.
His
little setup of like, mistreatment of people.
And yeah, the dehumanization of others when you're wearing that suit, which makes sense.
I mean,
and
people put on the uniform and forget their humanity.
Yeah, and then we met Isaac, played by Beetee from the Hunger Games, which is a franchise I'm obviously very recently
I thought that was a really strong
loved.
first scene.
I thought it was a really strong first scene. Yeah, I'm excited to see the woman who's going to partner up with Beetee and be leading the WLF.
Yes, Miss Mom from Euphoria.
Really good performer.
This is what happens after Euphoria. In a lot of ways, this is canon to Euphoria.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know. I'd like to see some fanfic about it.
Yeah, okay. And then we got a lot of Ellie and Dina.
This was an Ellie and Dina. Once again, last episode we were really playing on Ellie's the new Joel.
Yeah.
Dina's the new Ellie, which I hate to say that now because later when there's a little bit of a type reveal.
Yeah.
It's not so great always when there's...
What's a type reveal?
Oh, just a reveal.
Of what?
Oh, when Dina reveals that she's pregnant to Ellie.
Yeah, and then they hook up, like, immediately?
Well, the long and the short of it, what were hits of this episode, which is why I think I enjoyed it more than you, is I'm a big fan of lesbianism and you're a fucking hater.
I don't think that's what it is. I just thought the way it went down is unbelievable. And look, I get.
Yeah, there she is. Hi, good morning.
I'm mad at the show. I just think it's
so
just
talk about
fucking
it then.
Corny. I think, okay, so like, I get that maybe in these kind of very dark moments where Ellie's been bit, Dina is ready to question, is she going to have to kill her? And
which again, strong, interesting question.
Yeah, and I get in a moment like this that might actually be that kind of heightened adrenaline and passion may lead you to be fucking in that moment. However, it was the dialogue, the way it was written, the way it was acted, and the pacing of the scene, which felt almost just like so overly dramatic as to, again, I'm just like, corny, like just like.
And I of course don't want to be
Ellie,
antagonistic, but when you're talking about the scene, when you're talking about like and you're talking about pacing, like we've just blown past. I don't think the audience knows where we are. I don't know where I am. Like, let's give them something. They're coming to the podcast.
Yeah, we're okay. We're talking about the moment when after Ellie, I said it, where Ellie gets bit, and now we're in the abandoned.
How'd she get bit? Where'd she get bit?
The subway station.
Oh, okay. Raise your hand if you've heard about the subway so far. Look at you. Come on. I love when you smile and laugh. There's our charm. I feel very pageant mom right now.
Okay. All right. Why don't you walk us through The Last of Us, since I'm obviously averse.
I just think that what we do together is really powerful, and people really appreciate perhaps signposting.
Yeah.
Or, it's our obligation to our freaky little audience.
Okay.
Is
oblige them. Or fighting.
Well, I think that it's important to also show and model that not every day is going to be a day when we have, are the most fresh. We've been recording for approximately 6 hours just to kind of unveil what's going on here.
Yeah, we recorded so much of the rehearsal. That's chat. Here's what's happening.
Okay,
we recorded so much of the rehearsal that I didn't want to talk about The Last of Us anymore.
And I am like, and yet we both are kind of stubborn and exceptionalist. I'm not going to say perfectionist, but damn near
close to perfectionist. But yeah, to maintain we're not quitters. To maintain the integrity of the pod, this is us talking about The Last of Us. So
and I kind of
what do you have to say?
Integrity of what pod?
Because what I had to say was, show's corny. Yeah. I'm glad y'all casted Josh Peck. The sets are gorgeous. Take on Me was lame and way too long.
That was, talk about corny town. Had a very like the doctor's a woman moment.
Yeah, when you thought the whole time they were interviewing the hair and makeup artist.
Yeah, I thought the director was, I was like, why are they interviewing HMU?
And I said, that's the director.
I was like, oh. Which then, of course, like, I was kind of like, this episode is directed whack and corny, but then I see it's
A Woman and How You Like It Better?
Yeah, and I'm like, I thought it was awesome.
I don't think it's the direction that was whack and corny. To me, it's just the overall season. Again, even what I saw in the previously on last week. I was super excited for what this was going to be, and I just feel like it didn't deliver. And again, it's like it does in some regards. Obviously, that subway scene was fucking awesome. I love cordyceps. I love when they attack. Yes. I love when they narrowly miss and climb through a tunnel.
You called it epic, yeah.
Yeah, that stuff is epic and really, really cool. And I want a lot more of it and a lot less corniness in between. It made me wonder this episode. I was like, is Pedro Pascal what was preventing the show, which ostensibly had probably a similar script and was similarly dramatic in season 1, but it didn't feel corny to me. And I wonder if that has to do with like Pedro Pascal's acting ability in a way that I think both Bella Ramsey and the actress who plays Dina this week, like,
love you, Dina,
just were like, again, I just felt,
I don't know, because yet
corny.
We don't think the directing is the issue, but I said I kind of think the actors are carrying it. I thought that Bella Ramsey and whatever the Bella Ramsey name is for Dina, aka actor, I thought they were doing a good job with the material.
Here's the thing. I don't disagree. Just there's something about all of it. It's just, I think it's just not the story I'm wanting to hear right now. Like, I'm just like, again, we're just in this we're just in a fucking apocalypse, and like, we're in revenge, and people are dead and dying, and we just saw a bunch of bodies being hung. And Dina's like, when I was a kid, I told my mom I like boys and I like girls, and my mom said, no, you just like boys. And I'm like,
what in the Love Victor?
Like, I'm just like, that's what I mean. I totally believed it in a Heartstopper, Love Victor. Yes, I believed their chemistry in that scene. Yes, they were performing together, and I believed it. To me, it's entirely out of place in the series in general, how this season is going, and the pacing and where the priorities lie.
Yeah, you kept asking, what show is this?
What show is this? Like, I'm like, yeah, I felt like I was watching a Heartstopper in the middle of The Last of Us, like, and I'm like, I didn't forget those bodies I just saw. Like, take me back to the Scar people. Take me back to the WLF. Take me back to what is Jesse doing? What is Tommy doing? What's Gail doing? I've been spending time getting to know these characters, and now we're here. It all just feels at once too fast, and at another instance, not enough is happening, and it's all coming out in the wash. It'll all come out in the wash.
I wonder if chat let us know, especially those of you who play the game, is that the reaction that people had to this being the sequel? Like, did our players of the game, our game players, our gamers, did they enjoy the first game way better than the second game? Like, maybe it literally is on the content.
I don't know, but it could be, but I also think this season does seem to have taken the essential departure from the game. I think is still that they probably should have followed the game model and had us start as Abby without knowing her motivations, and then killed Joel, and then switched us back to Ellie's POV of getting revenge on Abby. It just feels like the way they've chosen to do the story is now again kind of falling flat, because I miss Joel. I didn't see Abby. You know what I mean? At this point, I'm like, you all know how I feel about Abby. I missed Abby this episode. Like, I'm just like,
hate Abby.
Just the pacing, and just feel the way they're truncating the story to make it work for TV is quite not working. So I think it's the creators and how they chose to structure this season based on what they had from the game. And I'm sure it was a difficult project. But I'm not so happy with how they did it.
To me, that's where I start to get unbelievable, where I'm like, later when they're like, that's the moment she fell in love with Ellie. Really? When she's like, I want you to raise this baby with me, but I didn't know if you liked me. I'm like, bro, what?
Oh, okay. And also that brings up a good point, which is chat, those of y'all who had a lot to say about they theming Ellie. Hi. Ellie's gonna make a great fucking dad. So what do you call that, gender freaks?
What do you now? Okay, so this is where So what specifically from chat are you responding to? And I would also just like to kind of clip your own words, which is that you telling me when I was they theming Ellie because I was saying that.
Yeah, I said it was not necessary.
Yeah, you're like, that's a girl.
Yeah.
So what are you responding to in chat? And then what do you have to say for yourself?
I'm agreeing with you now.
Oh!
Yeah, do you like that? I'm agreeing with you now. I think you caught the vibe. You said, no, Ellie's giving non-binary vibes.
Yes.
Chat was agreeing with me and what I said in the clip, which was that it's not necessary to they, them, Ellie. But I think you said, no, but they're giving me non-binary vibes. And then I think Ellie's saying I'm going to be a dad. Certainly giving non-binary vibes.
And then later, the hair and makeup artist, aka the director, they them'd Ellie.
Yeah, I noticed that as well.
And
I just think the whole thing, like, and they did the whole like Seattle on the gay areas. They were like, "What are all these rainbows?" And I was like,
even me, we're like, "It's too much woke."
It's too much woke. like woke brought down Seattle.
Right. I'm like, Seattle's like that because it's like. Jane made a joke. She was like, this is what Seattle looked like before the apocalypse.
No, like cordyceps are the woke mind virus.
Literally. That's why we like them so much.
Which is why we love cordyceps.
Like, look, I'm pro cordy, and yet I'm like, I don't know if we need to be
and I think
gay Seattle. I don't know how those are related, but
yeah,
still.
The whole thing, like, I feel like that whole like kind of coming out scene or whatever with Dina, just like all of it. I'm just like, it's what is the necessity of coming out in an apocalypse scenario? Because I can really understand that in that scenario, like, you should probably take it where you get it. What kind of conversation? Why is everyone having conversations on whether they're gay or straight? I'm like, can these labels just like, who gives a fuck? It's the fucking apocalypse. Why don't you fuck whoever you want that wants to fuck you?
It's also fun for her to experience.
And I think I feel that way during
Pardon.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think I feel that way about the non-apocalypse as well. Like, I'm like, oh my God, who gives a shit?
I know you do. And
it's
important to people's identity and sense of self, right? Like, I
think we should all
Dina
dissolve our identities and be part of the collective consciousness and all become cordyceps. So what now?
Well, now I'm like, cordyceps as the collective conscience perspective unlocked. I'm like, no, there's a take. There's my girl. I would say that I hold a different perspective, but I think that remains true and has been true. So we'll just keep rocking that. But to your point of like, what does it matter or not matter? Dina, who apparently has been struggling with same-sex attraction and apparently plotting a life together with Ellie,
right,
is like, you know, her having shut down a long time ago in very like 2020 type language, despite them being like, what's the rainbow flag? It's like, you've got a pretty rainbow flag conception of bisexuality, but her being like, I used to be attracted to boys, but mom said no, so I shut that part down, which is why answering the question of why it took so long. So I do think, again, part of labels are helpful insofar as that they are a way to understand oneself and oneself in the context of the people in the world around them.
I just think understanding yourself is so important when the zombies are not chasing you.
Well, yes.
You know,
Yes,
I'm like, that's my point. Is it's not that
their point is, like,
wokeism
we have
ruins.
a moment of respite here.
Yeah.
But
right. I just think maybe there's other
time and place.
And
you did it
at my
birthday dinner. I mean, 2 Tati mentions in a row.
Yeah, please.
Now I feel like we gave justice to
The Last of Us
and to our listeners.
Okay, so listeners, I hope you liked that.
I know you did, because that's kind of the end of the episode. We get this very tonally bizarre.
Yeah, and look, congratulations to all the VFX, the set builders. Yes. Like, you've made a gorgeous show. Congratulations to all the actors. I genuinely think good performances all around. Sure. I just think
congratulations to HMU.
Yeah,
as well
as the director.
Yes.
But for the overall, how much I want to talk about The Last of Us and Stream Queens the pod, I don't. I want to talk about the rehearsal.
Yeah, and fortunately,
can we?
All this stuff has been keeping me from doing that.
So I'm gonna go do that now.
You're all strung out on rehearsal.
You're all strung out on rehearsal. Y'all, we are quoting Ms. Barbara from Teen Mom
season
about season 2. Teen Mom from fully 2011, and that is struck. And what's her name? Is
Barb and Janelle.
Janelle.
Yeah,
Janelle, and that's Barb.
Janelle of I can't go to jail that day. Like, I have the Kesha concert.
Yeah.
Like, I already got. That's why I got my hair done. That's why I have the feathers in my hair. Like, I can't go to jail that day.
Yeah. So anyway, that's just a quote from Teen Mom. We'll let's go to the rehearsal now. The Last of Us is The Last of Us kind of slid down the mountain into the valley of Cornytown.
Yeah.
The rehearsal is just riding that kind of ski lift right up to transcendent, really interesting and unique POV television. So
POV, high concept, meta, surreal.
Yeah.
All the highbrow words that we really make a meal out of. And there's a lot of tension in what Nathan Fielder is doing. And we kind of talked about how the rehearsal, especially this episode, functions like a video essay.
Yeah. And I mean, all of the rehearsal does, right, functions as a video essay. And I'm starting to think of season 2 as a continuation and a further exploration of what we learned in season 1.
Absolutely.
And season 1, of course, followed, we started with him kind of just introducing the general concept of what if we did elaborate rehearsals to help people with their social anxiety. Yeah. And then as he goes on, it kind of turns onto himself, onto the ethics of kind of the way he's making this TV show by him doing this family style rehearsal of having a child and with this woman, right?
With Angela. I think that point is well taken and sets the escalation of the base for what season 2 is. And what struck me about season 1 as compared to season 2 is that the more singularity or the scale of it, right?
Yeah.
Which is one human life, and perhaps raising a kid as a project,
right?
As many people's legacy.
Yeah.
Not everyone has a podcast. Not everyone has an HBO show.
And not everyone can.
Right. It's way easier to have a kid.
But there's also, it wasn't just about the dynamics of the kid, because if you remember in the last few episodes of the rehearsal, what really broke apart the rehearsed marriage that he had with Angela was a conversation about Judaism and Christianity.
Really?
Right? Yeah. He brings in, he brings in the woman who's talking, like, basically wants him to. The entire show actually ends.
I love that.
Yeah, like they're having these conversations around Judaism because she's saying, like, basically, like, I need my partner to be Christian. Angela, and he's saying, I want to raise this kid with mixed faith.
Right.
With a mixed faith background.
Which again is funny because ostensibly he's creating this simulation for Angela and then inserts himself and not only includes himself in it.
Yeah.
Ostensibly, or to his claim, to be the partner that she wants. And then start making active choices in contradiction.
Right. And then he kind of tries to argue, like, oh, this is actually me having this argument with you. Wouldn't you think that your partner would have their own opinions and input? And she's like, I know my partner would be Christian. But then he brings in...
You can control for that, for sure.
He brings in that lady who tries to convince Angela that it is, to convince her that it's necessary to teach the child the Jewish faith. But then it ends on a solo conversation with her and Nathan, where she wants him to throw his support behind Israel. And that's how the show kind of ends.
She does?
Yeah, she's not Angela, the woman that he brings in.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. She's like, I think the entire
teacher?
Yeah. And I think the show ends on her saying, you have a platform, you should support Israel. And he's dancing around it, and he's going, a lot of people have charged opinion. Like, he doesn't want to say his opinion, and she's like, you should. All of this great stuff came out of Israel, and
I
you
don't
should
even think
support.
It's just opinion that it should be a positive endorsement was what she wanted.
She wanted a blanket endorsement of Israel and said, you're Jewish and have a platform and you should endorse Israel. And then he's like not willing to do that. And then that's kind of how the rehearsal ends. And then it picks up in season 2.
Is that how it ends? I think it ends much more on the ethics of what it is like.
Well, then maybe that's how the penultimate episode ends. What I remember is that it's definitely goes to credits while she's still on that point.
Because
that could be the penultimate episode.
They play her audio out. Yeah, I think. Well, that goes into that's when he starts fucking with the world, right? Which is to say that he starts with the religion. He has she doesn't want to celebrate. Angela doesn't want to celebrate Halloween because of the ghost, and he's like, and this is real, and she's like, some things are real, Nathan.
Yeah,
referring to Christian ghosts,
right?
Amazing faith, her belief system,
totally.
Well,
and that's the some things are real of it. That's where I'm like, season 2, I think we are. I mean, with episode 2, like, we started to touch on the Nazification of Paramount Plus and them removing an episode that had to do with his Jewish identity and Holocaust remembrance, right? And I think this season we're going to see a lot with that, because I feel like with Nathan struggling. I think as we rehearse towards, in season 1, we spent a lot of time rehearsing towards Nathan dealing with these personal relationships in his own life, right? And how he kind of always ends up alone. Angela eventually leaves, and he's got this whole thing. And then I think in season 2, we're going to we've introduced to me what I think will be a central conflict, which is he's got to have a conversation with Paramount Plus and in general about... Oh,
you think that's what we're building toward?
I do. I think we're building towards a conversation with Paramount Plus, because he's going to have to work through, like, especially when we think about, you made the comparison last week about him being the pilot of his own show. And is it going to, crash and burn in disaster? Is he going to be able to communicate and, get this plane landed safely? And I think that's all a metaphor for his conversation around...
oh my God.
Yeah. Judaism and Israel and everything.
Yeah, I'm wondering in that claim whether this episode he might have referenced it a little more to keep the build, but maybe that's not necessary.
Well, I think it's possible. This episode seemed to me to be like he taking on the Sully character he's taking on a hero's journey that I think eventually, is he going to be able to be a hero in this world, in this conversation? And even the whole thing about like pilots as a metaphor and his clown metaphor for him being a comic, and can I help something with aviation safety? I think there's a little bit of a
savior's complex.
No, I was going to say we kind of know that he's not an aviation expert. There's a facetiousness to the claim that he's doing this to benefit aviation safety. However, I do think he's doing this to talk about broader conversations about his role as a comedian and being a Jewish comedian and speaking to some of these doors that he opened in season 1 and that he continued a lot in episode 2 of season 2 by talking about, like, he literally showed a map of Paramount Plus in Germany and Germany spreading across Europe and the United States. Like he's
the Paramount Plus ideology.
He's gonna go there.
Paramount Germany ideology. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm interested to see how that goes. And so I think all of this may be a preparation for that. Like, I think this week we started to discuss this hero thing and when is it the right thing to land the plane on the Hudson and prevent a crash
and ask for help
and ask for help for others. So I think we're just starting to build this. What's it going to take for Nathan as a character to
wasn't her name Miriam or Muriel? Bring Miriam or Muriel with you to Paramount Plus.
Yeah, maybe we will.
We rewatched Jane and I rewatched the episode in question of Nathan For You.
Summit Ice.
Yeah, but you mentioned it as more of a runner though.
How did you find that?
I felt like it didn't deal.
Sorry, I meant, was it on Paramount Plus?
Oh, pardon. It was on HBO. HBO is streaming.
HBO has Nathan For You now.
Or Nathan For You, yes.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, I didn't even think to look at Paramount Plus.
Well, we're not active subscribers right now because there's no Traders season going currently.
There's a way around it, and Traders is Peacock. Not that it matters for this moment. It's like their flagship. Like, what is NBC? Anyway, one of the themes that we brought up last week and tools that Nathan is playing with that comes up at the beginning of this episode, Pilot's Code of the Rehearsal, is the nature of simulation and creating things, but also this nurture and nature question that he is obsessed with. And we get to meet our friends Monique, Bogdan. It's Achilles.
Achilles is the original dog, and Zeus and Theseus.
And Apollo.
Yeah,
you got, what a trifecta.
Yeah.
These 3
clones.
Was it $50K
per clone?
Per clone or for the experience?
No, it's per clone.
So that's $150,000.
Do you know anyone who's cloned their dog?
No, do you?
Yeah.
Who?
I know somebody who cloned their dog. I'm under NDA about it, but I'll talk about it in the abstract.
Yeah, please.
But this is somebody who kept a big secret about having cloned their dog because it's more of a public-facing person and it's very controversial to clone your dog. But it was really interesting because I got to learn about, it's about $50,000 to clone your dog. And this question they're dealing with in this episode of like, it looks just like your dog, but it's not the same dog.
Right.
Is really interesting because that
which kind of got me.
Is true from my experience of what I've heard about having a cloned dog. It's just different. It's just the way, dogs have different personalities. It makes,
and if
to
comparison
me,
is the thief of joy, a clone is always going to be worse because it's never going to be the original.
Right. Well, and Nathan's presenting it as a question of nature versus nurture. If it's got the same DNA, perhaps it's the environment that it grew up in, because the clone dogs also do have to spend an amount of their youth in the clone facility.
To make sure they don't morph out and then eat everyone. And
I don't know exactly, but I think it's similar. It's when you fly your dog abroad and they gotta quarantine it for a sec. Yeah. There's something about you quarantine the clone for a minute before it goes.
I wonder if it has a different smell.
I don't know, but so he's presenting a nature versus nurture question to me. I'm like, I think it's actually more of a soul and consciousness question, because it's like that dog might have the same DNA, but does it have the same spirit? Does it have the same heart?
Do you think a clone has spirit or soul?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. They're just another individual.
Yeah, I think just another.
It's almost one way to be born.
It's one way to be born. Yeah, in some ways, I'm excited to see. I hope what are they? Bogdan and
Monique.
I hope you get on TikTok, girl. Share your experience watching the episode, because I'd love to see what you thought of the actors.
I wonder what her DJ name is.
Yeah, I wonder what her DJ name is. But I would love to see her thought of the actors who were playing her based on this detail of I wanted to have kids. He didn't want to because he was working at Intel. So I got this dog. Well, now we're years later. We have 4 dogs and still 0 kids. And so to play out these kind of early fights that obviously in many ways were never resolved.
Yeah, they don't go away.
Yeah, so I'm very curious what their experience watching it was like.
Well, and I do find it interesting, though I don't know if I have anything to say about it. But when there is she's talking about wanting kids. People also then will transfer that onto dogs.
Yeah.
A reverse of what Nathan is interesting into on their pets. But the similarity of her being like, we tried to clone Achilles and we were blessed with 3 clones. That's very IVF
oh yeah,
coded or parallel with the trying to create a viable embryo outside of the womb. Often there are many viable embryos, and people will choose to gestate all of them.
Is that how you were brought here?
I've been wondering. I don't know, because I think that
Can you give the listeners some context?
Yeah, I have 2 moms the whole time, but they were together before I was born. And playing into my Jesus complex, of course, they,
immaculately conceived you.
Yeah. However, I do think it was artificial insemination, not like test tube baby. The difference being that, again, this is my parents' probably personal details to share or whatever. But
wait, but you were carried.
Yeah, Beth carried us, but like in that most or IVF pregnancies that are created outside, like I don't think that we were like test tube or petri dish babies where there was like an egg that was fertilized.
You were artificially inseminated with donor sperm.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the conception happened not in a lab, but within my mother.
Got it.
Carried us.
Yeah.
And like that's what I mean by there'll be multiple pregnancies. Like there'll be like, okay, we have a bunch of embryos that were created in this petri dish. Like, do you want us to like toss a couple?
Okay, got it.
And then people would be like, well, not only do people struggle with the ethics of do you want us to toss a couple, but also you're more likely to, pregnancies fail all the time.
Sure.
If you carry X amount of babies. Like I know these triplets.
Go to term.
And there were 4. Yeah, there were 4 zygotes or embryos or whatever inside of the
oh my god
womb. Isn't that awesome?
Yeah, except for like I'm like, oh my god, it just made me think about carrying triplets.
Jesus Christ.
Oh my god.
Well, it's also why a lot of rich people, why there's like twins and shit and triplets in wealthier neighborhoods, because they have access to because twins and triplets are more common with IVF pregnancies.
Oh, that's interesting.
In vitro fertilization. And who has access to that? Rich people.
Wow. Very interesting.
Like they're not cloning mutts, probably.
Sure.
Oh, we're going to cut that.
Wait, I don't know what you mean by that.
Well, humans aren't mutts, but.
Oh, I was thinking the dogs.
Yeah. Okay, good. That's what I meant. But.
Yeah.
I
said, take your time. What's the rush? Baby, I'm a dog. I'm a mutt. You know that song?
Yeah, which one? I like that one.
Yeah, it's by, it's funny. It's by Leon Thomas, and that song has been coming up. I love it, but he was in Victorious with Ariana Grande and Victoria Justice.
Was he the one who dressed as a girl?
No, he's the black guy who sings really good in that show. He's like the most talented one on the show. He would always hit the piano and do like songs with it because he has a very musical show.
You did it, kid.
Yeah, and I'm like, and I guess he wrote a lot of he wrote Snooze by SZA. He's been on like an awesome songwriting track the whole time, but I think this song Mutt is, I don't know if it's his first like release as an artist, but it seems to be the one that's getting him traction as a artist. Mm-hmm. Which I'm so excited for him. So congratulations, Leon Thomas.
Yeah, secret number is number 1.
Number 1,
You're
Leon
number
Thomas.
1.
Yeah, and so we kind of end with the actor couples doing really funny fights and like him saying, I gotta go. Me and the boys from Intel have to go see a screening of The Hangover Part 2.
He is so funny.
The 2011 setting of it was so hilarious. Like we opened the episode on the Osama bin Laden has been killed. There's the Kate Middleton wedding. Yeah. Like it's so funny. And then he just transmits to these actors a bunch of like 2011 time markers that love.
Which is so funny. Yeah, we see in the fake Silicon Valley them talk about Steve Jobs' death. Also funny to do a period specific cars and then pump in 350 mile air from San Jose. Yeah. Which is so funny because it's also like that felt like some commentary on the lengths with which we go to do. I mean, all of this for him is a length to which he'll go to perform these rehearsals and how big he'll take it. And I'm like, that one was just so over the top funny to drive it in.
350 miles. But that also brought up a question for me that I had multiple times throughout the episode, right? Because it's like, we talked about before the pod, as we were preparing, we talked about how real all of this is, right? And the idea of when you get a script, like something for this episode of the rehearsal, you don't have to do any of these experiments to accomplish shooting that scene, for example, right?
Yeah, I am still taking Nathan at face value or at his word to a certain extent, especially when he talks about the conditions of the experiments.
Well, right, because he says in this episode, he says in voiceover that he had the dog for 4 months, right?
Yeah.
But I'm like,
or we got this air from,
but we got this air from 350 miles away. However, you don't need any of that to accomplish that scene. You need a shot of a truck driving, and you need that blower thing.
Right.
That doesn't have to be real. So it's like if you're taking that at face value that he did that.
Which I was. And you, thank goodness, your producer brain and background are like, yeah, I mean, that would be cost prohibitive and also just not necessary.
Not necessary to shoot the scene, right? Which is a different thing, right? It's like, because that's the comedy, the fact that this is not a documentary, this actually is not a reality show, this is a script, and there are these docu elements, and that it's like, that is a real couple. He's not necessarily scripting that couple, but most of the stuff that's like these elaborate things that are not, he builds the elaborate sets, those are obviously real, but the elaborate idea of taking air from San Jose and driving it there, you don't have to, you can say that in a voiceover and again shoot a truck driving and that machine, and we believe you. You don't have to get that air.
And authority and truth are those themes that run through all of it.
And because we're watching this show, right? And we know those are real people. So there's this in and out of there are real moments in the show that make the more farcical moments believable, because you're in this tone of reality show. You're in this tone of video essay documentary. So you're kind of believing everything he says.
And he's taken a step further with the idea of like showing the work or showing the frame and the blueprint and the like scaffolding or the bones and skeletons and shit. Because he shows that and says that he's doing that, it makes it all the more believable, because it's like, well, he's showing us what he's doing. He's of course telling us the truth.
Right. But it's like, it reminded me this episode, I was like, no, it's a comedy script, right? Like this is it's different than shooting a docu-style show, and there is a lot of room for, I mean, and that's the thing, it's like, it's not even lying, it's a comedy script, it's fiction.
Yeah, it's a set, Rue.
It's a set, Rue.
Right, and
it's a set, Rue. Quick question, chat, I'm curious what y'all think when we say stuff pretty naturally, like, it's a set, Rue.
Right.
If you do or do not know that reference, does that affect your listening to it? Because that, for example, comes from a Queen on Drag Race All Stars,
from
Snatch Game, and it's
Jinx Monsoon
is playing.
God, what the fuck is her name all the time?
She's playing
Judy Garland. Excuse me,
but she's playing Judy Garland, not Dorothy, right?
Correct.
And then I don't remember what the question that prompts her to ask.
Rue says, "What is on the other side of the rainbow? What is over the rainbow?"
It's a shit, Rue. It's not
nothing.
real,
right?
And like, that's so funny.
No, cackling.
And so anyway, I just was curious, Chad, if that kind of context when we kind of rip that kind of stuff out is necessary for y'all. I'll be curious. Let me know what you think.
Right, because we're not in our speech then going like annotating it. When
no,
you and
we
I are
don't
talking.
annotate inside our sources because we are pretty locked into what they are.
And we're talking about them. But now we have this audience. Whoa, are we rehearsal? Where it's like...
Right, where I'm like, do y'all need to see our work? Just wondering. But
or if we were Maggie Nelson Argonauts, which is going to get cut, but if we were Maggie Nelson Argonauts, right, if she does something like that, she just puts like a number and then at the bottom would be like, this is Drag Race All Stars.
We love Maggie Nelson, folks. She does a lot of footnotes and references.
Yeah.
So I think we got through dog cloning. Next part of the show is Nathan transitions us back to the pilot question, which we almost forgot about, and all this dog stuff.
Yeah, we get a little flash of what is that guy's name, but that horrible, awesome man.
That pilot who got kicked off of Tinder, Bumble, and Hinge.
Almost every dating app known to man, as he says.
Yeah.
And it's like,
yeah.
I wonder what he is using now.
And then we cut to him and he says probably nothing because he's even got kicked off seeking arrangements and they're pretty lax.
Well, right. But then again, know what the arrangement is.
Well,
I bet
right.
he was on there being like, will you take less? Will you not take less? Or just like being so fucking appalling in what he was saying to the women on there.
Well, it's so funny because we were wondering last week what he did get kicked off of them, and his best guess is
because he's feigning. He's like, I don't know what I could have done. Well, maybe
it's maybe it's that I put no T girls, and then I love Nathan for going T girls.
Like transsexuals, which, by the way, my bios, of course, are all T girls, only T girls only. And to say transsexual, I'm like, baby, I think and T girls, no transsexuals, bitch, you fuck with the dolls. You fuck with the dolls heavy. That's insider baseball. Yes.
T girls is insider baseball.
No, you know some of the
dolls.
Like
if I dropped T girl to my mom, she does not know what T girl means.
No. Jane, I gave her a T for T tattoo.
Yeah.
And people out like cis people are like T4T. It's like, that's what I'm saying. You don't get it. I bet the pilot knows what T for T is.
Yeah, that's inside baseball for sure. So
inside baseball, and he's like, yeah, I've been deceived by a lot of.
I've been fooled multiple times, and I'm like, multiple times.
I think you're.
That's
seeking
giving
it
an
out.
inclination. Yeah.
Yes, and also to me a little bit on a sad human level, I'm like, T girl is exactly the type of girl or woman that he would be attracted to, and also he is exactly the type of dude that a trans girl would perhaps seek out or be interested in. Because
why?
We're talking about hypermasculinity and hyperfemininity now, right? He represents this masculine alpha male who is like a brute, and many trans femmes represent or embody and try to project hyperfemininity, and he wants a hyperfeminine subservient woman, and a woman, like, I think that that's a big part of why I slept with men, is that it is affirming to one's gender. Like, if men want to have sex with me, then I must be a woman.
Right.
Oh, do you think Captain Sully is more famous than Amelia Earhart?
Yeah, Captain Sully got played by Tom Hanks.
Amelia Earhart got played by probably a navigation system. Yeah, is what she got played by.
Oh. Sully.
Sullenberger.
Yeah, do you have any...
Sullenberger.
Did you have any thoughts?
Sully Sullenberger and fries. Yeah. And a large shake. Hello, that's what that plane was doing as it hit the Hudson, I assume. Yes?
Did you have any kind of prior... opinions, thoughts, or like references for Sully as a character in the world?
We rewatched the episode of 30 Rock where Matt Damon is the pilot who's dating Liz Lemon, and they have that fight on the plane. I think it's the 5th season. But that whole season, kind of Matt Damon's character is like, if he was that great of a pilot, he went to hit the birds. So that cultural reference, I think at the time, anyone that's doing a cool thing like that, Barbara, my mother, is going to go ahead and be like, that person's a hero. So I think that my opinion of him was generally positive and good, and I think it's like sick as fuck. He's like a folk hero. He is like a folk hero. Like, I definitely... What about you?
I mean, I remember there was a movie. I remember some of the jokes. I remember after we watched this episode, I Googled Sully canceled because I had a vague memory, but that was not true.
I kind of did too. I was like, was he Trump or no?
No, not at all. Opposite even. Like Joe Biden, like rode for the Biden admin.
Well, it's Jover. So
it's Jover, folks.
Thanks, Sully. That's one plane you couldn't land. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Oops. Yeah, I think then we get right into kind of the story of Sully and the fact that in the transcript, that pivotal moment where he asked his co-pilot, do you have any ideas?
You got any? He's actually not.
Actually not.
No, me.
So,
if I send you actually not, it means I don't have any ideas about what to do with the plane that we just lost the engines on.
Right, but he did ask the question, which brings Nathan Fielder to wonder, okay, what brought him to ask that question, and having come off of the dog cloning, nature nurture, he's like, okay, let me live Sully's whole life and see if I would make that same decision.
Well, because he got into his book.
Well, yeah, he did a very celebrity memoir book club type
the
read
blueprint
of his book.
The pink print.
The pink print of
Secret number is...
secret number is 14, which is about how many martinis I had when I saw y'all two. So sorry about that.
Ladies.
I think we had fun.
Is that scene opening of, you know, as the transition, we get the hair and makeup.
Well, he starts shaving his chest and legs, and we're like, immediately, you were like, is he going to be a baby?
He better not be a baby.
I think he's going to be a baby.
I think we know he's going to be a baby.
I think we know it's DC Picnic. You're going to be a baby.
I mean, the filmmaking continues to level up. Like, what a fun transition shot.
Yeah.
And he's voiceover the whole time. And then boom. Like or of course, right, we see him. Nathan Fielder is a corporeal comic.
What does that mean?
It's definitely, I don't think that's like a phrase in the culture, but like he's like using body. Like he's not afraid. Well, it doesn't matter whether he's afraid or not. Him being fully dressed as baby in diaper with bald cap.
I know.
Like it was very like, oof. I did appreciate the giant puppetry.
I loved the giant puppetry.
It was just artful.
It was so cool. I loved him walking in with the giant door wearing that diaper, and he really did really good. That was some of the best acting I think I've seen from Nathan Fielder.
Yeah, you felt he was like embodied.
I felt he really embodied baby. It was this part when he goes...
The uppy motion.
The uppy motion.
Yeah,
and
listeners, she's doing the uppy motion.
He looked so like cute and adorable. Like I wanted to pick him up in kind of a way that I was like, damn, it's crazy that Nathan Fielder is so smart and funny that he's dressed like a baby and acting like that, and I'm still attracted to him.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. It struck me that while those were very pretty set pieces, there wasn't anything necessarily elegant about or artful about the camera work, right? It's not like they were shooting it interestingly. They were letting it play out.
Yeah, but they did it all with practicals, like even especially with the the childlike perspective of having Nathan next to the sister, and then the dad is on stilts to represent his POV of looking up, but without putting the camera there.
And it's playing nice. I like that. It also is occurring to me that it felt very stage as well. Mm-hmm. And then this is where, I mean, the dead horse, but just continuing to play with artifice, staging, presentation.
Well, and that, it was an interesting filmic choice to do. He's doing forced perspective, not through camera, but through props and set design, which obviously he's obsessed with elaborate set design. Yes. We're seeing it constantly, and that's part of the charm of the rehearsal, is how elaborate his sets are. And in these Sully's childhood moments, like building the giant sets and having the dad on stilts and like these giant puppet type figures is a really interesting choice, because you could do all of that forced perspective with a camera, right? But he's not changing the style of the show, which is pretty head-on camera work. Like it's still shot like docu, you know what I mean, regardless of.
And where the camera stays the same, this does feel a departure, right, in some ways, because while it is similarly still an elaborate set, the scale is different. It's working with forced perspectives. We also don't have the same level of specificity that we have with the same episodes. The next departure is this split or differentiation between, whereas they've done like a little bit of imagination, he starts to later in this episode invent scenes. And when I say lack of specificity, all the big sets of Sully's life do not have the same level. We don't know that's what that bedroom looked like. In fact, it probably didn't. Whereas earlier in the episode, they're freaking out because the remote control looks the same as the one they had in their apartment.
Well, that brings us to something I think Nathan says later in the episode, right? Because then again, with not putting the camera, because they could have done it more, they could have shot the whole thing in 50s style, you know, and they could have made it use some film techniques to like force the perspective of a baby and do it like that. But that's the thing, that's not the show, because this is Nathan doing the rehearsal of being in Sully's life. So it's all about Nathan's experience. So in order for Nathan to feel like a baby, camera work's not going to cut it. He needs big, giant props that make him feel small, right? His experiencing being a baby is why you have to do it that way.
It also feels often, right, very cartoonish, childish, more abstract.
Yeah.
Next big plot point for, as far as I can tell, for Sully's life, for the rehearsal, and for us is the teen years.
The
you want to take
years.
us there?
Well, there's the crush with the girl in the church choir, Carol, and then which brings us to, of course, which I think was a scene you seem to quite really enjoy.
Did I enjoy it?
Did you?
I was moved.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nathan's like talking about arousal as a powerful feeling, as is Sully.
Right.
And we get this moment where Nathan is voiceover, and we see some visuals of, he's like, I dismissed the crew, dismissed the actors, had them put on stilts, and then I, of course, went on and watched porn to get aroused. Once I got an erection and was aroused, had everyone come back in.
Well, yeah, but there also, the key moment for that, though, was a further exploration of Nathan's character in the show, which was that he could not get aroused with the real actress next to him. So he brought in another prosthetic robot.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about the sex doll,
The sex doll, because he is not capable of experiencing that kind of arousal with the actress next to him. And I think he, in fact, said he was distracted by her being
embarrassed.
And so he needed to be able to be with no crew around and a fake doll next to him in a way that I think just further points to, again, all of, his work going back to his kind of social anxiety and his inability to interact with others.
Which a fun case for sex dolls, where I'm like, yeah, if you have trouble with women, get the sex doll, live that out.
You're pro sex doll?
In this moment, yeah.
Okay.
What does he learn from?
That what he learned was compartmentalization. And then eventually we're going to start learning the way Sully, the words deal with and cope keep coming up in his memoir, which are, I think, in addition, these details that Nathan is, were omitted from the memoir, that Nathan comes to the conclusion is probably in large part because if you were to speak so openly about your mental health, you could be deemed not suitable for flight, right?
Honey, if poor mental health makes you a flight risk, I should be grounded for life.
Well, right, but that's kind of the whole thing, right? Is like,
I'm
and
not
then
the pilot.
Well, by the time we get to the end, though, it's these pilots that desperately needed an outlet, right? It's these pilots who were auditioning to be on the show, like talking at length about the things that they are going through, and needing somewhere to put that, because they can't really talk publicly about those things, because then they could be grounded and not be able to fly.
Not just publicly, because that is public, right?
Well,
for some intents and purposes, but not to a medical professional.
Well, right, or not to even your co-pilots and stuff, like,
definitely
right, definitely not to the people you work with. So I think that kind of lack of intimacy, and as we talked about earlier with like therapy, and like there's these just different, I don't know, if you're not able to open up to the people around you, it's going to create a sort of repression that we saw, like in that pilot who got banned from everything because he's anti-T-girls. Like, it creates all of these not being able to have these kind of discussions, the things Sully left out of his memoir, these emotional moments, not being able to explore them in...
Feeling blocked.
Yeah, feeling blocked can lead to a lot of the dynamics that are causing these plane crashes in Nathan's thesis.
Where do we go from...
The iPod.
The fucking iPod.
Because basically then what he does is he goes to, especially in dealing with the Sully's father's death and him not really having the words to express himself at the...
Or an outlet, like
pseudo
you're saying.
Memorial, right? Then it was right after that he starts mentioning the word iPod a lot in the text, and that he starts mentioning the "Soak Up the Sun" by Sheryl Crow. Always makes me think of his dad, even though that song came out many years after his father's death. And that they're basically like this iPod and what music was able to give Sully as this kind of emotional outlet, and the songs he was listening to.
That's why art is so important, y'all. That's why our podcast now more than ever.
Yeah.
Do you think that music was an opportunity for him to express himself, or to feel it represent, like, or to engage, because right, like music isn't, he's not making music.
Yeah,
He's
right.
listening to
I guess,
music.
yeah, expressing, well, I guess it unlocks parts of yourself and your experience. I mean, he was listening to a lot of Evanescence.
Because he couldn't access things like therapy,
Right.
etc.
Right. And so then the question that was left by the memoir of what does Sully mean by the words deal with and cope when he refuses to elaborate, Nathan Fielder takes all the clues to suggest he means listening to Evanescence.
In the Miracle on the Hudson, like the flight recording log or whatever, he theorizes that is a time in which
You could listen to the chorus.
Captain Sully put in the headphones
Yeah.
and listened to that.
Well, perhaps that's a possible answer to the question of how much can entertainment make an impact if his thesis is true, and if he did listen to popular song Bring Me to Life by Evanescence before landing that plane successfully in the Hudson, then it answers Nathan's earlier question he's been asking this season, which is can entertainment and art create an impact on aviation safety? And if that's true, that he listened to Evanescence, the answer is yes.
Take us home, Aaron. Nice. Did you do that just now?
Yeah.
Hell yeah. That's the power of Stream Queens.
That's the power of Stream Queens. And I mean, that's all I have to say about this episode, which I adored, loved, can't wait for next week. Nathan Fielder, you crazy bitch. Love you, girl.
Love you, girl. And
yeah, we're going to go ahead and say goodbye. Follow Stream Queens the pod on all your platforms. Listen to us everywhere you get podcasts. Rate and review. Like and share. Share it with your friends.
I'm Julia Went.
I'm Erin McKeon.
This is Stream Queens.